From the shadowy depths of the city, where justice and mystery intertwine, emerges a broadcast as daring and vigilant as the masked Avenger himself. You are tuned in to the Green Hornet Case Files, unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
Thank you, Miss Case.
Let the adventure begin. Hey, I am Greg.
I am Kory.
And I was going to say, we are the Green Hornet Case Files.
That's accurate.
Is that it?
We are most definitely.
Most definitely. And thank you for jumping back in the office here with us. And here in the newsroom. I don't know. What do you...
I'm the bullpen.
The bullpen.
There we go.
I kind of like it.
I did too.
This is episode 6, and we've had so many people reach out to us after Ron Fortier, whatever Ron said.
We love you, Ron, either way.
Whatever. We just had so many great people commenting on the interview we had last month with Ron.
You know, again, we kind of I particularly am fond over it. He was so awesome, and I have ended up listening to that episode multiple times already, and that's not including the test clips you sent me beforehand. I've listened to that same conversation several times now.
So you're the 4 people that we've had listen to the show.
I am 3 of the 4.
3 of the 4. Wait a minute, I think I'm the 4th.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, no, I guess we're just talking to ourselves here.
Yep.
Oh, God.
There it goes. Speaking of talking to ourselves.
Speaking of.
I gotta clear the air.
Okay, what did I do?
This is no. You were given a bit of information.
Okay.
That made me look really bad, in my opinion.
Oh.
And I am here to vindicate myself.
Okay, all right. Vindicate away.
So, we were on the discussion of references to the Green Hornet in other media.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's something I wanted to talk about.
Right,
yeah.
We were talking about songs and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Now I know this may be off-putting to many of our listeners, but I'm a big hip-hop guy. I like rap. I like rap a lot. And my absolute favorite of all time is a group called the Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan?
Woo! When you can't remember, think of Ric Flair.
Ah.
So anyway, Greg sends me a text that says, Wu-Tang used a sample of the Green Hornet in a song, and you've never mentioned it. And I was like, wait, what? How did this slip by me? So the song in question, if anybody wants to go out and check it out, which I'm probably not, but
yeah.
Song is called Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to F with.
Okay.
Put it in quotations. So in the song, there is a sample, and I can hear where the thought process was of someone who said it was a Green Hornet clip. It is not.
Oh, really?
The sample is actually a very slowed down version of the Underdog theme.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here. Okay.
But the slowed way down. And it's got a buzzy sound to it, and people were attributing it to
the Green Hornet.
But it's not. It's the Underdog theme. So therefore, I am vindicated because I didn't fail you.
All right. Okay. And that makes me happy.
And I went through, I found a list of literally every song sampled in that song. And
it's not.
Underdog is there.
Yeah.
There's a Bismarcky song that's sampled in it. A track from Annie. And then Tigers of Shaolin, old Kung Fu Shaw Brothers film.
Okay.
So those are all the samples in the film or in the song. And I was like, but I dug deep. I went to multiple sources because I was like, I have failed myself on top of everything else. And so I just wanted to clear the air on the air.
You got yourself. You got yourself. How this whole thing came about, though, was I am all over the Green Hornet forum. Thanks to a couple of guys, and I saw it. It's not a real active group at the moment. There's been, in fact, most of the last 10 or 15 posts have been me.
You?
Yeah. And a lot of it had to do with the Case Files podcast here. But I saw a post. This was done a couple of weeks ago, by a forum person named Stryker. Wonder where they got that name.
Ooh.
It says, you run into the Hornet in unexpected places. This is a song by the British rock band Trinity featuring Brian Auger on organ. I love Brian Auger's 60s organ music. Just awesome. And singer Julie Driscoll on vocals. Here is the link to the song and the lyrics. I've included the portion of the song that refers to the Hornet. And the song is called Save Me.
Yep.
And in the song, and I'm not going to play the song on here because we'll get into trouble by somebody, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah, and it just says, save me, yeah, he saved me. I don't sing very well. Call in the Croup Crusader?
Cape Crusader.
Cape Crusader, that's what it is. Green Hornet, Kato 2. I'm in so much trouble, I don't know what to do. If you're thinking a thing about me, save me. Oh, yeah, come on.
So I actually listened to that track today at work.
Yeah.
My job allows me a lot of headphone time.
Sure.
And so we went through several references that you had sent me, and I checked them all out. Going for, I just wanted to be able to reference it, and that Save Me song was actually really cool.
That's
a
good song.
Great song.
Yeah, and of course, again, Brian Auger on organ. That's the Auger organ. Wow. I'm having trouble tonight with my voice, my lips, and
fine.
I may have to have a little bit more. I don't know. So I was wondering about other pop culture references of the Green Hornet, besides comic books and all that. Are there other little foops that have gotten snuck in someplace? And I did an AI thing, a chat GPT, say, okay, go find all this stuff for me. Save Me by Brian Auger and the Trinity. The Green Hornet theme that's said by Al Hurt, which we know that.
Right.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Bring the Pain by Method Man.
So Method Man is a member of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay.
And that is accurate.
Makes a reference to the Green Hornet and a line, you couldn't even withstand the pain from the real Green Hornet.
Yep.
Okay. So that one's a real one.
So Method, he layers a lot of pop culture references in his stuff. And as a matter of fact, he's big into the marijuana, and he often refers to himself as Johnny Blaze, the alter ego of the Ghost Rider.
Right.
Other members of the Wu-Tang Clan, there's a guy by the name of Ghostface Killah who goes by Tony Stark. And this was Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is early 90s.
Right.
Iron Man was not the biggest, biggest guy.
Yeah.
But and I swear I'm going somewhere with this. This isn't just Kory's hip hop channel.
Okay.
So there is another member of the Wu-Tang Clan whose name is Inspector Deck. And he is also in another group called Czarface.
Okay.
And Czarface is literally two guys as a comic character that they created.
Oh, it's their own creation.
Yeah, they together are Czarface. It's one character with two voices, and he is a robotic superhero. And there's a deep mythology goes, but there are Hornet references in Czarface songs.
Really?
Yeah, I found a couple of them,
It's funny because it didn't. Mr. AI did not pick up on any of those.
Well, Czar's a little more underground, but but when you looking into it, like all of their references are very comic book and action movie influenced.
Sure.
And so it just kind of fed right into it.
Oh, nice. Nice. There's another mention here. It picked up on a song called "Billionaire" by Travie McCoy and featuring Bruno Mars. It says, although there's not a direct reference in the music video, Travie McCoy is wearing a Green Hornet T-shirt, paying homage to the character. And then the other was a song called "Slam" by Onyx. Song includes the line, I've never heard it before. Green Hornet style, Kato hitting hard like a hammer. And so that's all I've been able to find. So...
Well, and so it's so funny because a lot of that ties, and I know we keep banging this drum, and I promise at some point I'll get off of it. But there is an inexplicable obsession with specifically 90s era hip hop guys and kung fu. They all grew up on the Shaw Brothers films. They all, especially East Coast hip hop guys, like a lot of them. Bruce was a god. And so you're going to find those references cropping up. And it's funny because they always kind of lean towards referencing the Green Hornet to get to Kato.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it comes from for the most part. But.
So it's going to be 66 Hornet driven.
Yeah.
And that's where the pop culture came in, was 66.
Yeah.
Because nobody, you don't get pop culture off of 1940s, at least...
Not nearly enough.
Well, no. We should probably figure out a way of doing that. So I'm asking you guys and gals that are listening, if you know of any pop culture kind of references that I've maybe missed, that Mr. AI hasn't been able to pick up on, are there things like this out in films? Maybe little references besides like the movie that referenced the, all the different little Bruce Lee things.
Right.
And are there other things that you've come across or seen? Let us know.
Yeah, please.
Drop us a note.
Podcast. GreenHornet66.com.
I was waiting for it.
I know.
Waiting for that commercial message.
The funny part was I was kind of waiting to see. I was just like, oh, he's going to say it. Oh, no, he's letting me do it.
Nah. Got to earn your $1.50
So
this week.
I know that got off onto a little bit of a side tangent, but I felt the need to clear my name.
But see, I think that's important to keep the buzz. Pardon the...
No, I'm not pardon it. That's wonderful.
Oh, okay, that's
my
great.
favorite.
Yeah, okay, great. I think that's important to keeping the Hornet in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Hornet tends to slide off the rails, at the bend every once in a while, and we lose him for a while.
Yeah.
There's always Batman. There's always the Dark Knight. There's always, Superman. There's always, as you mentioned, Tony Stark, and Iron Man. And how did Iron Man get to be so popular when nobody really cared, a few years back?
People tend to forget, too, like, before that movie was that movie, before Iron Man was the hit that it was, nobody wanted to take a gamble on Robert Downey Jr. Nobody wanted, the buzz around that was incredibly negative before it came out.
Yeah.
People were like, this is just, why? Why are we doing this? And it kicked off 20 years.
Yeah.
And counting.
Because it's still going on.
Of superhero films. And now, so where I think it loses it is, where I think the Hornet doesn't hold his place in that is... He's not a superhero.
Is Tony Stark a superhero?
I would say to an extent, absolutely. He plays in a much more superhero universe.
Well, true.
He plays in a different sandbox because the Hornet is ground level. And we've talked about this a couple of times. But the ground level stories, which I think is where we're heading, I think it's going to come back around because everybody's sick of sky beams and Thanos killing half the universe.
Blowing the world up. Yeah.
Nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Right? You can't bring in Galactus. It doesn't pose a threat. Nobody
cares.
Right. I was about to say something
I
else.
know.
But
Beep.
But I think the need for those ground level heroes is coming back around, especially as reality is as tumultuous as it is, and people are running into more and more dangerous times. The need for somebody who will step in and protect the little guy is a whole different. It's a whole different side of things, and we've talked about this a couple of times. Like I lean towards the Daredevils and the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man,
right?
The Punisher. Even I like the street level guys. Like that's always been my jam.
Which is what happened with the 2011.
Yeah,
with Chudnovsky.
Yep.
I mean, he was just a street level punk.
Yep.
That had double barrels on his gun or whatever.
Right. That's where it sits, though. I think, and that's where I think we're at a point where we're gonna see it come back around. I think it's about time, and it's almost like, since we're on the topic of superheroes, I was the first time I quit smoking. I always find something to key in on to help me get through hard stuff.
Sure.
And for me, it was the Green Lantern. Because this is a superhero whose powers were based on his willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, perfect. That's something I can tie my wagon to, right? And I was deep.
Yes, you were.
Deep in Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Reynolds happened. And I don't blame him. And I still maintain that Mark Strong was fantastic in that movie. But that movie is a turd.
Yeah.
It's pretty freaking awful. And that kind of sucked the wind out of the sails for me. And it did for everybody. Like Hollywood pumping out superhero after superhero was so gun shy of that property for so long. I think the same thing happened with the Hornet. I think Hollywood was gun shy after the Rogan movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we're about to see. I mean, I know we've talked about the rumor mill and what's going to where and who's writing what, and that's awesome and it's wonderful. But I really am believing that we're about to where that can happen, that can matter.
I'm hoping so, because if you look at the Hornet from the aspect of, it was popular in the 30s when the radio show came out. It was extremely popular that way. And then you got into doing comics in the papers, and that was very popular that way. When they did the 40s serials, they did 2 of them, and they were very popular. And then all of a sudden you hit 66, and while everybody's really excited about it, it didn't match up. It didn't make Batman.
Right.
Right. There was such huge expectations that Batman would bolster it, or that it would be another Batman.
Well, and then that is also, and we again kind of retread that.
Sure.
But it's when it wasn't the expectation of what Batman was, it wasn't given its due.
No.
To be its own thing.
No.
It just wasn't. And I mean, like, seriously, though, if you go back, it runs circles around, say, like, Dragnet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I like me some Joe Friday. I'm just saying. But the Hornet show was way better. So it's just kind of, I mean, what are you going to do?
And I think I mentioned this in maybe one of the first shows, talking about 2011, Seth Rogen, is that I played it for my grandson, who is now 16, 17 years old, here about a year ago, not quite. And he liked it.
Oh.
He liked, the Seth Rogen film.
Okay.
Because
it's kind of that age sense of humor.
Yeah, and he doesn't understand the back. He doesn't know the backstory behind, and why is Grandpa being so obligatory.
My grandpa really likes Seth Rogen, man.
So another aspect of all this, and the main topic of what we wanted to talk about tonight was, I'm not quite sure how to go about talking about this. Because when Batman came around, the initial Batman, it wasn't until the 66 Batman that came around, Batman didn't have an awful lot of toys in the early days of Batman was exactly the same as the Green Hornet. I mean, he was just smart and used his fists.
Yep.
And there really wasn't there wasn't the Batarang, and there wasn't the Bat computer, and there wasn't,
right.
all those kind of the bat shark spray and all those kind of things.
The shark spray is always just the.
My buddy John, that cosplays as Batman, carries a surfboard with him, and he's made the Batman board shorts from the one scene in the one with Joker.
I will never forget the first time I saw him in that version of the getup, because I'd seen him in just the cosplay before.
Right.
But when he did that variant, I was like, that's it.
And the first thing out of everybody's mouth when they see him is, "You got the bat spray, the shark spray?" And of course, he reaches over and grabs the can, and he's got it. It's got it every time. But it's the toys. It's the gizmos. It's the weaponry, I guess. Kato's a weapon of his own, but when you're looking at the pop culture aspect of Batman, you have to look at all those toys, all those.
Right. Well, I mean, that's even the key line that sold Nicholson's Joker in the Burton Batman movie was, where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yeah, that's right.
That was the tagline in the trailer. And so it's, you got to have something. You got to have something you can sell.
Yeah,
you got to have something you can market.
Yeah, the marketing, the merchandising, and how do you do that? Merchandising. So I brought some toys today
what'd you
for
bring?
us to kind of play with here. Let me get my bag open.
This is a complete surprise, too. I didn't know you were doing this. See, you got that inner Santa still, no matter what.
Santa Claus. Oh. So here in my hot little hands is a replica buddy of mine that did a 3D design of the 1940s gas gun with the individual little pellet things up underneath. And, I mean, this is shown in the very first episode of the serial.
The serial, yeah.
And Kato has designed this gun as a way to non-lethally deal with.
Oh, this is so cool.
It's, we heard about it in the radio show. We heard about it, but we didn't get to see it until that point in time.
Yeah.
And it was based on a German Mauser. My paint job on this thing is absolutely atrocious because I'd suck at those kind of things. But and I haven't taken this to any cons yet, but we'll see how that goes one of these days.
You turn it over to Snow. She knows details.
Well, there you go.
She's good at it.
So, and at that point, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, podcast at greenhornet66.com. That was the only gizmo there was besides the car.
Besides the beauty, yeah.
Besides the beauty.
Yep, I agree.
That was all there was. And I mean, it was effective. Martin talked about, it being a vehicle for, the bit of cowardice maybe that Britt Reed had.
Yep.
And I kind of get that. I mean, I kind of get the idea, the sentiment behind that. I also think it's really cool that, you can knock somebody out without,
yeah, you're gassing them.
You don't need Kato.
No, right. I mean, you do, but you don't.
Although, yeah. So then we got into, I actually think this one maybe was a little bit pre that. This was another version of the gas gun. And I think, I got to look this up here real quick. I think this was the radio version that maybe some artist did. And so maybe it predates the Mauser.
So this one is Oh, that's got some heft to it.
That's got a little heft to it.
I
Yeah,
like
it's all printed out of resin. So
that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
The vibe on this one is much more Flash Gordon.
Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon kind of feel to it.
I dig that. But it's also, I mean, it's just...
It's very small.
Super cool, though.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah. And then, you move up to 1966, and you've got this very sleek-looking, gas gun kind of thing that we've all seen that was used in the TV series. And, again, same kind of thing. Was redone by, was it Entertainment Earth that wound up, that did the versions of these? This is not. This is a version that was done by a buddy of mine. And
this is your main piece for cons and stuff.
That's one of the main pieces.
Yeah, I like that one.
But again, it's a gun, and it's a little gas thing, and the smoke that's supposed to come out of the thing. Some prop guy back behind with a CO2, yeah, there you go. But the primary for the 66 is where he would carry the Hornet Sting.
Yep.
And I mean, it's a tube, and I've got that, here. Wow, that was a good sound effect.
It was. That's something nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is a 3D printed version. This is the main thing that I carry because that's what everybody sees usually.
And what's funny is if you don't have a frame of reference for the Sting, it's essentially a modern police baton.
Yeah.
That's how they look now. And
yeah.
Like, oh man, that's super cool.
And he would sit in the car and Hornet Sting check, whatever, and
yeah.
And that, other than, I've got one more little toy, and I don't know how this is all coming off on radio, but you can kind of picture a lot of this in your mind.
Oh, this is so cool.
And it was a nice job. Nice job. The guy 3D printed that.
That's really rad. I like that.
Yeah. And it was.
I didn't know you had that.
And the last little piece of my toys is, and I don't know why Kato needed this, but Kato needed a dart.
Yep.
Kato needed to have darts to be able to throw.
Oh, it's so cool.
And
I've never seen any of this stuff, and you showed me a picture of this one before, and I've seen pictures of you
of the
holding
40s, yeah,
of the 40s gas gun.
Right.
And I've seen you holding the 66.
Holding the 66, but
I hadn't seen the rest of this. I'd never seen any of it in person. Oh man, this is cool.
But
I want a whole set of these.
If you look at this, yeah, the wings will fly off because they're not glued on yet. I got to do some more painting to make all this stuff happen. But when you look at all this stuff, I mean, this is all kind of old school when it comes to toys compared to Batman.
Well, yeah, but so I mean that's where it's started though. He had the toys before Batman had the toys. So, I mean, that's all riffing off of it. I mean, and taking it and running with it. The Hornet orang sounds terrible.
I'm not quite sure how that works. Yeah.
But I mean, like, you get what I'm saying. Is they took it to an extreme, and it worked. It worked, and that's where the Hornet kind of got left behind. Was he had some stuff, but he wasn't. He wasn't Maxwell Smart with the shoe phone.
No.
He wasn't Dick Tracy with the watch.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's those little things that are iconic as far as those go. The gas gun, while we think is cool, just didn't stick the way everything else did.
No, it was a gas gun. It,
Yeah.
It had it. There was a version that was done you guys are going to have to correct me on this. There was a version that was supposedly both a gas and electrical shock. It used the gas to transmit the electrical shock and would shock. And I can't remember if that was in the cartoons or the comic books. I think that was the comic, and
Yeah.
whether that was Ron's invention or I can't remember.
Right.
But I mean, that was cooler in a way because it's this visual electrical shock. Otherwise, it's, like this, Kato farted kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, well, there is that again.
And then, the Geneva Convention came along and it was... Can't use neurotoxins anymore.
Yeah. There were a couple of other gadgets that came along in '66. I think they tried to utilize as many gadgets as they could to compete with Batman.
Yep.
If you remember, he had a gold pocket watch that he would pull an antenna out
Yep.
and click the button, and it would cause the Scanlan's glasses, I guess, to buzz or something. And so he knew that he had to meet the Green Hornet at, home base or whatever.
It's a whole different kind of joy buzzer.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Honey, why are you keeping your glasses in your pocket? I don't know. Yeah, that's... Get one of those for that.
Right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude, okay? And the only other thing I can think of is at one point in time, and again, you guys will correct me if I'm wrong on this, the only other thing I ever saw that was Green Hornet-y as far as gizmos was he pulled out a pen light at one point in time, a flashlight.
Yeah.
That looked a little different.
Yeah.
It had like wings or something on it.
We should fire this question off to Martin.
Okay.
Like maybe an email. Like
Okay.
maybe he can think of something off the top of his head. But I think we're kind of covering the gamut. As far as but it's also like wasn't really the point. The gadgets weren't. And we're talking about how they're cool, but at the end of the day, it was the crime fighting itself.
It was
the
brain behind Britt Reed to be able to figure out how to twist everything that the criminals were doing into a way for him to both A, take over their syndicate, and B, bring them to justice.
Yep. At the same time. Yeah. And that's the aspect that I think is the best hook and kind of gets run over a lot.
So let me ask you this. There are some other things that we have not talked about, and those have to do with comic books. There's a lot of gizmos and gadgets that have come up in the comic books over the years. There's a bat cycle, a Hornet cycle. There's a helicopter at one point, a little single-person helicopter.
in the 60s, they thought that was going to be a much bigger deal.
Yeah, I think so. But let me ask you this. Moving forward, as we do hope that Amazie Entertainment pulls the trigger on making a movie, do you think those kind of things need to play in this? Do we need to have the merchandising aspect of the proton pack?
So, maybe. And I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for. I don't think that the people who are listening to this, the people who are having these conversations, we don't need it. Not at all.
No, we just need a really good Hornet story.
Right. We just want to see it. We just want to watch it. I want to watch it. I want to watch it set in the 30s or 40s. Or even the 60s would be fine. I want a retro piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want it set back. Or even, let's take it, steampunk it. You want to take it in cyberpunk, whatever. Like, give me something that's not him right now. That's what I want. But at the end of the day, for everything to keep going the way that the Hollywood machine is structured, yeah, you got to have that tie-in. You got to sell the merch. You're not about selling a movie. You're not selling tickets.
Right.
What you're selling is T-shirts and action figures. That's the business they're in.
And cola cups and and all those little tchotchkes.
And I'm a horrible sucker and buy all of it because I'm an idiot.
Well,
but that's what keeps it going. That's where the push to look at it just recently. this last weekend, Mad Max, the new Mad Max saga movie came out, Furiosa.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person I've heard, talked to, loved it immensely. Said it was an incredible movie. It was absolutely awesome tie-in to the last one. Fantastic, right? Across the board. It made $23 million on an $84 million budget.
Yeah.
So it's a failure.
Boom. Yeah.
It tanked. It's dead in the water.
Yep.
Nobody cares anymore, is what they're saying. Now, do I think that Mad Max is going to be dead in the water because of that?
No.
George Miller doesn't care. George Miller's going to make George Miller movies. That's what he does. So what we need is something that's going to hit, but I think that era is over. So if somebody were to take it and give you a solid crime fighting TV series, again, or streaming series, 10 episodes every 3 years or whatever they do now, like, I think that's the wheelhouse that would best facilitate it moving forward.
And I think there's discussion about that. You know that I'm also a big Ghostbuster guy, and I go out, besides Green Hornet, I go out and do Ghostbuster cosplay, and we go to children's things and different things to help support kids. And we just had Frozen Empire come out, Ghostbuster Frozen Empire, which the entire Ghostbuster community was on pins and needles for this thing to come out. And people walked out of the theater. A lot of people walking out of the theater going, that was garbage, absolute garbage.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I wouldn't either. I enjoyed a lot of there were some things in it that I didn't like, some of the storylines, plot holes.
It was a live-action version of the real Ghostbusters to me. It felt like the real Ghostbusters. The cartoon, the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
It felt like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I enjoyed it, but
I was really happy to have a new Ghostbusters
just something
out there.
Yeah.
Just something out there. And I know somebody has discussed, somewhere along the line, I saw a discussion of maybe a Ghostbusters television series, just like you were saying. You know. Is it time that we revisited 1966 and, took the vision that was in the head at the time of, oh, gosh, well, Batman's a success, so why can't, tune in tomorrow and...
Right. And so, it's funny because I think there are two ways that it would work. One is we talked about it with Ron, the gritty Hornet meets The Wire. Heavy, hard, gritty, dark.
Yeah.
Would really work. Or you go the complete opposite way and just like it's like we're filming 66 season 2.
Oh.
I think there's a way to sell that people would be into. And I'm not saying make it campy. I'm saying you make that series again. Or not again, but still. Like a continuation.
Right.
Which, I mean, obviously, the magic of that is lightning in a bottle. I don't know that you can do it again, but I think that the aesthetic would be pretty easily sold.
You've seen the French Green Hornet that was done here a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that idea would, that's the dark, that's the grit.
Yes.
That's the Chudnovsky, that's the on the ground, boots on the ground kind of story.
Yes.
And I think everybody would have liked to have seen, more of that. I've actually reached out to the producer on that. I've not heard back. But, where did that idea come from, especially in France?
Right.
Taking something that's very American.
Right.
Very American, and doing a French version of it.
Well, I mean, it worked, though. It worked really well.
It did. It worked really well.
And it's funny because we keep talking about these little, when I'm a fan of the vignette. I like a short film.
Mm-hmm.
I like let's get to the heart of the matter. Thomas Jane played the Punisher.
Right.
In a really bad Punisher movie. That, again, not his fault. He was a fantastic Punisher. But he wanted to keep it going after that. And so he made a short film.
I did not know that.
Of him as the Punisher. I think Ron Perlman was in it.
Really?
It's only like 8 to 10 minutes long. It's literally about him going to do laundry and stuff just going sideways. Like, seriously. And it was really, really good. Really, really good. Outshone the movie of what could be done.
Yeah.
Like 1,000-fold. The same gamble was taken with Ryan Reynolds when he did the Deadpool.
Yeah.
They did that test Deadpool thing, and then someone, wink, wink, leaked it. And it created a buzz, enough buzz that they got the studio behind it. And so it's kind of like these little gambles that people are taking can pay off. The Deadpool one did. The Punisher one didn't. The Hornet one might have, had it reached a larger audience. Being French, it didn't hit the American audience quite the way that it could have.
Right.
You know, it's not going to go viral in a foreign language, at least here. Like, I mean, it's, well, Gangnam Style, but that's a whole different ballgame. But I'm just talking, like, I mean, if somebody out there were to do that again, or even like, hey, do you care if we dub this? And, or, you know what I mean? Like, we could do a whole different ballgame, and that is where we gotta get, while the hero needs to be boots on the ground, the buzz to bring him back has to be boots on the ground.
Yeah.
To create a groundswell of getting it out to people who aren't us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things about this podcast. And again, you guys have been awesome, absolutely awesome about reaching out to us. Share it as much as possible. Not just because I want to see more numbers for the podcast, which I absolutely would love to see.
Yeah, he's not lying to you.
Hundreds of people, instead of Kory and I listening to it ourselves and bolstering the numbers. No, I would love to see more people out there learning about the Hornet. Keep spreading the love. Buy the comic books. Go get a hold of Moonstone Books and read the stories. And
speaking of buying the comic books,
yes,
can we talk about what we're doing next week? A week from today, what we are doing.
We've got another special guest.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Next week, we're going to talk to Phil Hester, and oh my God, I'm excited.
I don't know when that one's actually going to wind up being aired, but yes.
But we are going to talk to him next week.
Phil is going to join us, and I've known Phil off and on for, 10, 11, 12 years, ever since he worked with Roddenberry folks on Days Missing comic. So Phil's going to be joining us to talk about his time with another guy, Smith.
That's a cagey name. I don't even know if that's right. That might not be his real name.
Might not be the real name.
Kevin Smith.
So we're going to talk with Phil about where things are going. We'll let you know when that interview is going to air.
I know, but we're talking to him next week, and I'm stoked. I'm so excited, and I know that's a lot of comic heavy interviews, like in a row. But oh my God, I'm so excited.
And we have yet another, I think we teased it last time, we have yet another interview that we're going to be dropping here just real shortly that is also, it's 66 related.
Yes.
So everybody's going to be excited about that, and I can't wait to drop that one on everybody. So we have a lot of great things kind of coming up, going to be in the can.
And then, I'm not kidding, within the next few episodes, I promise we're going to do a 66 episode, or at least one episode, review episode. So it's coming.
All right.
I promise it's coming.
Hey, thank you for joining us to talk a little bit about ideas. I know you guys and gals have ideas about what you think the new movie should be, if and when there is. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the gizmos, the gadgets, the weaponry. Besides, we know Kato, the Bruce Lee Kato, is a weapon in of himself.
Right.
But Key Luke kind of did some of that as well early on in the 40s. And there is some of that that's always there with the original radio show too, not to the extreme.
Here's the question I'd like to pose.
Okay.
Podcast at greenhornet66.com. If you were going to go down the rabbit hole of the Batarang, what would you create? What would your weapon that you create for the Hornet be? I'd like to know what people think of that.
I like that idea. Yeah.
Is if you were to come up with not the gas gun, but some other variant, whatever it happened to be, what would you give him? What was your dream, your Christmas wish list of weapons for the Hornet be?
I love it. Green Hornet Case Files. Thank you again for joining us. We've kind of gotten into the weeds here, as we always do, but I love the weeds.
That's how we do it.
I love the weeds. Kory, thanks a bunch, man.
No problem, brother. Thank you for having me.
All right. We are going to be jumping back into it here in another couple of weeks, so keep it tuned in. Podcast at greenhornet66.com. Be sure and go to, one quick side note, I put a post out about this. The SoundCloud.
Oh, we're not on SoundCloud.
Yeah,
anymore.
not on SoundCloud anymore. They we don't have enough face tattoos to be a SoundCloud rapper. I guess.
So let's roll.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and hey, we'll catch you on the flip side, man.
Heck yeah.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure, where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.